The Chinese are thinking about putting the domestic yuan onto a silver standard while it's on a gold standard for international trade is obviously a speculative suggestion. No, the problem, I think, is that there is a clash between industrial demand, which is soaring off the charts, and investor demand, or, if you like, demand on a monetary basis. It was interesting because the chart which everybody saw was posted by Bloomberg. Now, what Bloomberg did not post was a chart showing, if you like, the China's exports of silver. Now, this is very, very important because China exports silver in the form of bullion, or it did rather, in the form of bullion and powder and so on. So, the export statistics cover all that. Now, what the Chinese government has been doing is it's been supplying silver into the Western markets, which explains why we have the last 7 years of deficit, if you like, between supply and demand, without knowing really where, that imbalance was really sorted out. It was really being done by China out of her accumulated stocks of silver. She was trying to control the price. The interesting thing is that if you look at her exports, she has been exporting, I think I made a note of the numbers, in 2024, she exported 4,200 tons. In 23, 4,083 tons, etc. Now we're looking at figures like, sort of 137 million ounces is what she did in 2024. If you look at that Bloomberg chart showing the imports, in that year she imported a figure like 300 odd tons, I guess, 330 tons. Now, what is absolutely amazing is that in 2025, China ceased exporting silver entirely. The figure for 2025 is zero, absolutely zero. So why is this? I think basically China has sort of realized that the demand for silver, with nations like India getting into the photovoltaic industry, producing huge amounts of these solar panels and all the rest of it. Plus, obviously, also the defense applications and all the rest of it around the world, electronics applications all around the world and all the rest of it. The drawdown on her silver stocks, which she has accumulated over the last, I think, sort of 4 or 5 decades, has been massive. So there had to come a point where, they sort of said stop. And I think that's basically what happened in 2025. Plus, obviously, politics, geopolitics was beginning to play into this. It was in September that we had rare earths suddenly halted the export of rare earths. Why? Because President Trump threatened China with an extra 100% tariffs or something. I can't remember the details. But and interestingly, it was literally within a couple of weeks of that was end September last year, within about a couple of weeks of that, I think on about October the 9th, the lease rate in London suddenly shot up to 40%. Suddenly there was a huge, great shortage of physical silver available for delivery. This is fascinating. So if you look at the that Bloomberg chart, which I think you're probably referring to because it's all over the internet, the social media, there is a big difference, I think, between previous years, because if you look at the figures for previous years, the amount of silver being exported by China is well in excess of the recorded imports. In other words, there was if you like, they were literally feeding on a net basis silver into the rest of the world. That has now stopped. And not only that, But if you look at, I mean, there's a premium now, has been for some time, premium of about sort of 12, 13, 14% for silver in Shanghai. Now, a lot of this is explained by the fact that imported silver has to bear a VAT of around about 13%. But nonetheless, domestic buyers of silver in China are prepared to pay a premium. Okay, it includes VAT, but they're still prepared to pay it. So, what's happening is that silver is basically being sucked out of the West in exactly the same way as gold has been sucked out of the West over the last 30-odd years. So you can see this is actually a major, major turnaround. And it's leading, I think, I mean, we saw this, the initial squeeze in last October reflected in a 40% lease rate on the LBMA. I think we're heading for another squeeze. I really do. And the real conflict is this industrial demand, which is soaring off the charts, plus monetary demand, if you like, from all around Asia. Because, the last monetary metal which they tied their currencies to was silver. So you can see that there's a greater predilection for silver, if you like, as protection from the debasement of fiat currencies in Asia than there is with us. I mean, we've always seen it as the minor monetary metal, the real monetary metal being gold. So this is it's a fascinating juncture. You've got this clash, and it's really, really going to accelerate, I think, in the coming months. So that's basically the background to what's going on. And when I look at the report coming out of the major bullion houses and so on and so forth, I mean, I was just absolutely amazed. You had UBS forecasting a 300 million ounce deficit, supply deficit in the current year. And they were saying, well, it'll drive the silver price up to $100 and then it'll come back down to 83 or something by March the following, March 27. These guys, they don't understand that there is a geopolitical dimension to this as well. So are the Chinese going to supply it to America? Are they hellers like? They certainly are not. So you can see that, this is a real crisis developing. I have to say that looking at these fundamentals, I think it is certainly very, very likely that Mike's forecasts will be correct, will prove to be correct. We're heading for another silver squeeze. It's really the best way to describe it, I think, is the combination of China has been supplying the market up until the end of 2024. It ceased doing that completely. The market has been in deficit for the last 6 years. We're into our 7th year of deficit, which, according to the Silver Institute, is only something like 76 million ounces. But according to UBS, is about 300 million ounces. 296, I think, was the figure they came up with. So, it's going to be quite a bit greater, perhaps, than the Silver Institute actually forecasts. You have the production of solar panels accelerating. Oh, and incidentally, the Chinese actually turned around to their solar panel industry and said, please, can you slow down your production? Now, I think this is further confirmation that they're a bit worried about the stocks having run out and future demand, if you like, for industrial demand for silver and the way individuals are stacking silver in China. Remember, you've got about, 1.4 billion individuals there, and they are savers. The savings rate in China is like 30 to 35%. I mean, we're looking at over $5 trillion of savings looking for a home every year. And that's in addition to what is already there. Where do they go? Property? No. Stock market? Maybe, but not really. It's all been going into bank deposits, and bank interest rates in China have been dropping. So that's less attractive. So you can see why it is that individuals feel that, well, the best thing we can do is buy gold, buy silver. That's what they're doing. So I think this, to answer your question, the idea that silver could easily go up to somewhere like $300 or $500 dollars an ounce, I think is eminently possible. And on top of that, if you look at the price of gold, so we're now linking it, if you like, through the gold-silver ratio. Basically what the price of gold is doing is it's reflecting a declining purchasing power of the dollar. We are going to see a massive decline in the purchasing power of the dollar by the end of this year. Now, the reason I say that is because of the knock-on effects of